beautiful muses. Welcome to CosmoMuse Tarot and another reading that I have prepared for you. And this is one that I am using a new deck that I just got that I am really loving. It's called the Tuatha de Danaan Tarot, which is sort of the ancient, if you might, people of the Celtic lands. Some people say that they're mythic, but a lot of people think that they were like a real sort of type of tribe that lived there in potentially like Neolithic to Bronze Age area. And the creator of the deck, Aline Whiteswan, I think that's how you say her name, was, in her words, visited by the Tuatha de Danaan and given instruction to create a tarot deck using the Arthurian Legends, which is kind of like spiritual questing, and it's sort of these types of stories are ones that reappear time and time again. They transform and they reappear, and they transform and they reappear. So it's just like one version, one way of viewing kind of the spiritual quest. So I have 3 piles, and each one is going to hold a message about a spiritual quest, something you are on a quest, whether it's conscious or subconscious, that you are on, and bringing a little bit more illumination and intention to what that is, what this quest, this kind of spiritual quest is. So we have 3 piles to choose from. Pile 1, we've got a red Jasper. Pile 2 is, I think it's Dendrite. I'll put it in the description exactly what it is, a Dendrite Jasper, I believe. And then pile 3 is a Lemurian Quartz. Okay, so if you have your own process for picking cards, you can pause here and then jump to the timestamps in the descriptions once you've felt into which pile has your aligned spiritual quest. For those of you that like the breath work that I do to help you get into a space for feeling intuition and inspiration, kind of spiritual guidance in drawing your pile, I will begin that now. So place your feet firmly on the ground. Feel that stability underfoot. And now take a deep breath into that, into your body. Really weight it down. Embody into yourself, ground into yourself and into the earth. Hold that. And exhale. And now take another deep breath in, and this time suck the air up, up, up into the space between your brows where the third eye lives. Suck in a little more air to add pressure there. And now out loud, exhale, opening up your crown chakra. Okay, so now look over these 3 piles, pile 1, 2, and 3, and feel into which one is drawing you in. That is your pile. All right, I will see you in your readings. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your reading all about what is the spiritual quest you are currently on, whether you are aware of it or not. And we're using some tarot cards to decipher that, the general message of what that is, that has some Arthurian legend tied into it. So I've placed your red Jasper stone to the side that you can always tune into if you are needing to reconnect to yourself or this reading. So very interesting what has come out here. We've got the Four of Grails, and this is all about, so to me, this is like the initiation, how this spiritual quest initiated. So to me, this may be where you're at right now, or you might be able to track this back a little ways of like what kicked off some kind of quest you're currently on. In this scene, there's a knight here that has been injured. He's been stabbed by a boar in his thigh, which is common in kind of goddess lore of a wound from the dark goddess. And in the Four of Grails, or the Four of Cups, there's an apathy going on. And so what I'm seeing with the combination of this particular deck and the Four of Grails is I feel like some kind of boredom with the traditional way of doing life, of what your goals have been, of your direction, your ambitions. Something about them suddenly just kind of like shut down in you. A real apathy came on. And we see here the fairy queen trying to offer some help, but in the Celtic lore, fairies are actually a little bit tricky. So there is some trickster energy here with the fairy. So you may have felt like there was some help, some opportunity, something coming your way that was trying to sort of like tease you into deeper space, tease you into more of a feminine approach to life, or at least understanding what that is. But still kind of like ignoring that call to action. This feels like a call to action that in sort of a hero's journey pattern, there's always initially a refusal of the call. And I do feel that strongly here. So that may be something you're going through right now, or again, like I said, that you could track back a little ways of like something where you felt a little bit, apathetic about a path you were on, a little bit of a wound happening, not necessarily physically, but it could even have been some kind of physical thing that happened. Sometimes that is a way our body communicates to us. But something really sort of shutting you down, and just like a disinterest in where you had been going. But refusing that call to go into the feminine principle, which is the thing that would reconnect you with your soul, reawaken you. And then we see as we move on in the cards that this is basically like the three fates, and the Three of Spears in this deck. It's the maiden, the mother, and the crone. The maiden spinning the thread, the mother weaving the tapestry, and the crone cutting the no longer useful threads. And so there's an element of fate here. And this is very typical to see with a refusal of a call to action. There's something that's going to force your hand here, if that has not already taken place. But yeah, this feminine principle, goddess energy is like definitely intervening. They're like, you need to pay attention to the feminine side of your life, intuition, pleasure, beauty, fertility, receptivity, something where you allow life and attract life rather than assert into life and force into life. There's something that's trying to get you to switch gears, to minimally incorporate this into your life. If not, for some of you, kind of like really move into life with that approach more in a more dominant way. So wherever you are on your journey, your hand's going to be forced. Fate is stepping in. And it will be different for each of you, but there will be an inability to refuse that call into the depths, into the underworlds. So in this Four of Grails, these cups that have spilled over are spilling down into the fairy realm, and you can see stars from their sky shining through the roots of the tree. So you're being called down into other realms, other worlds, where the feminine principle can sort of help you congeal something, incubate something about understanding this kind of like a new approach to life, a different approach to life. This Eight of Spears actually speaks of what this fate may be, that sort of forces your hand. And this makes me feel like for a lot of you, this is just like about to happen. But if you really distinctly are like, oh, I know exactly what this is, then you know that it has already happened. But if you don't know what I'm talking about here, then this is about to come into your life. So in the Eight of Spears, this is Lancelot saving Guinevere from being, I don't know if it was burned at the stake or if she was tied to a stake, and I don't know if they were going to burn her, but for having, they had an affair. She was married to King Arthur, who Lancelot was very close to, but they fell in love and they did have an affair, and so she was being punished and she was tied to a stake. And Lancelot comes in at the last minute and saves her, and then the haste to exit the scene to get out of there, he accidentally kills one of his Knight of the Round Table's, I don't know if it was his sons or family members or friends or something. And it's that action is what really was like the final straw in breaking up the Round Table, the Knights of the Round Table. And when that happened, it was also the impetus for that dispersal of the Round Table and for all of those knights that were part of the Round Table to go on the Grail quest. And so this is saying something, there's something fated happening, and it's going to happen fast, and it's going to break something apart that you're already apathetic about. So in this scenario, I don't necessarily think Lancelot was apathetic and bored of the Round Table. Maybe he was, but in this story that we are creating, he was bored of the Round Table. He was looking for something else. And something he really cared about all of a sudden sparked, and his hand was sort of forced to go after the thing he loved. And I think in this scenario, Guinevere is representing that call to action, and it's something coming up about a feminine approach to life suddenly being the thing you feel like you have to choose, even if it breaks something apart in your life, even if it creates some conflict, some disturbance, disrupts your life in some way. You're going to feel some passion and some desire start to rise up, and this need to intervene in something, which kind of sets your quest into motion. And this is saying that what you will find by going on the quest is this Empress energy. And in this deck, the Empress is represented by the goddess Bridget, who is the goddess of poetry and smithcraft, and is a very, very inspired goddess. She can really bring inspiration into our souls, as well as some action. And so I do think, and then the Empress in general is that archetype of the divine feminine, is that ability to allow life to be abundant. Instead of like forcing life to try and be abundant, you just sort of magnetize it. There's just like a fertile energy by allowing, by receiving, by letting your sensitivities flow through you. And with Bridget here, it's sort of creation, inspiration, arts, poetry, things just like coming out of very soulful places. So this quest is really, really wanting to get you in touch with your soul. It's wanting you to really drop into a more feminine approach to life. If not to balance a more yang approach, then in general to start living the yin approach more dominantly. So it will vary for each of you, whether it's just something that's balancing that or something that's needing to kind of take over for a while. But either way, it's this quest to really get you in touch with your divine feminine, with the divine feminine, to know how to ease off of the gas pedal, to know how to relax, find pleasure, and start to understand that life can come to you. You don't always have to chase it. And that by doing that, that feeds your fertility, creativity, your inspiration, and then art just flows from you. Okay, so we are going to pick a few oracle cards to give a little bit more context and give you guys some guidance about your path to finding this Empress. What do you need to do? Because there definitely is a gap here. I'm feeling it sort of like, okay, you're being kicked into the quest, and this is what you will receive from the quest. But what do you need to know about being on this quest? And I think this is where these oracle cards, I'm going to put the intention that they're going to give some context about what you need to know about your quest here. Okay, so this Nocturna card, I'm going to read from the book 4. We've got snow. And I have to find the page first. Okay, snow, silence, gentleness, pause. Yeah, and I do feel that, and it comes right under that 4 of Grails, like the first step to even recognizing this call to action, that this quest is pulling you in, is to take a pause, to get silent, to get still, to be more gentle. Okay, so there is something calming about seeing a fresh, untouched blanket of white powder on the ground. Perhaps it is due to my childlike excitement that's never gone away, but I always have to pause and have a moment of admiration whenever it snows. Unlike rain, a gentle snowfall is silent and lightly brushes your face as the flakes meander down from the sky. Around you, all signs of life are gone. Animals are hibernating, trees are barren, and people are huddled in their homes and off the streets and roads. It's one of those few moments in life where the world around you is quiet and still. That's so beautiful, and I do think that, like, that's really great advice about just initially tapping into that feminine, dark, rich, fertile principle, is just get quiet and still. Let things calm down. Let things get really peaceful. And, you know, if you're someone that's used to or coming from always being a bit wound up or having your nervous system always firing, this may take you a minute to actually do. It's actually in our Western, at least in the Western modern sort of society, we don't do a lot of practices of quiet and stillness and recognizing that sometimes productivity is being quiet and still. Sometimes that is a productive thing to do. We don't always have to be going and producing externally. It's time to start being productive inwardly. Okay, let's get a soul journey card for a little more context here. Judgment. I understand that everyone has their own unique path and challenges. coming under the Three of Spears too. I honestly think this is mostly about self-judgment. Like you need to release, that external reaching you're really grasping for right now. You may be, if that's the mode you are in, you may be hitting your head against the wall with it and sort of just like not getting anywhere. And the thought and everything I've been saying about kind of going inward and finding pleasure and relaxing and easing off of life may sound frightening to you. Like, oh, I have these ambitions, I have these things I need to do, I need to accomplish, my aspirations are requiring that I be assertive and active. But take a minute, like, are you hitting your head against, are those aspirations just like not actually being fulfilled? Are they not going somewhere? And can you put them aside for a minute without judging yourself for doing so? There's some, worm in your mind that you need to reach some sort of status potentially. And can you let that go? Can you judge yourself in a different way by letting go of certain aspirations? And I'm going to circle back around to this because it's not what you think. It's not actually just sort of surrendering and giving up on finding a certain mastery and authority in life. It's approaching it differently than you're doing now in an external way. There's an internal approach you need to enter into, which does not involve this pushing and striving. So can you put certain aspirations down where you feel like you're hitting your head against the wall and find some self-compassion and let go of judgments, some sort of judgment you have about needing to reach some level in life? The path to that, and that's okay to have an aspiration, but for you right now, I think there's an imbalance in your yin and yang, and the reason you're hitting your head against the wall is you have not been giving that yin attention. And until you do, you're going to keep hitting your head against the wall. And I think this is saying, I'm picking up on the word unique in that little, I understand that everyone has their own unique path and challenges. And I think you need to start looking at your path towards your goal as needing to be more unique to you, not the traditional way, not the tried and true way, like some way that is unique. Your path is unique, and can you embrace that it then has to be, sought in unique ways? And part of that being a need to get more ease in your life, more peace, more pleasure, more calmness, more slowness in your life, more internal exploration. There's something about that. If you can do that, you're just going to start creating kind of more of an attractor energy instead of a forcer energy. Okay, let's look at the Woodland Wardens, which I'm also going to read from the book for this card. Quail and gooseberry. Okay, so this is L. Oh, this is the very last card in this deck. So anticipation. Yeah, I feel that around you guys. Fresh gooseberries are a tempting treat, but pick them without care and you might hurt yourself. Gooseberry bushes are loaded with thorns meant to protect the delicate fruit within. Similarly, the quail anticipates danger by hiding among low-growing vegetation. From its obscured perch, it keeps careful watch, monitoring for predators. The event or outcome you've anticipated is about to occur. Take advantage of your foreknowledge, preparing for what's to come. And this to me is such a beautiful omen of, I'm definitely sensing there's some big aspiration that you have, and it's like you're needing to drop into the feminine in order to really manifest that. And I love what this said about the quail kind of lying low, observing, waiting for the right time, because what it's needing to get to is a little bit prickly, and the thing it's trying to get to is actually very feminine in principle. It's lush and sensitive, and this berry that's soft and sensitive and gooey. And so if you go in for it the way like a thorn against a thorn, you're going to pierce that and ruin that thing that you're trying to get. But if you can drop into that feminine aspect and wait, be quiet, tune into right timing, this to me is saying that that goal, that aspiration is it's just ripening. It's already in motion. It's already doing its thing the way fruit ripens on a tree. There's nothing you need to do but wait. And this is why this is saying drop into the feminine principle. You need to allow something to ripen. You need to just have patience to go into quiet inner places, to observe life, to savor life, to find that gentle approach within. Because once that berry has ripened, if you've worked on that more gentle approach, you're going to be able to get through the thorns and be able to gently pluck that thing you're reaching for with the right tone, with the right energy. So there's patience, it's coming. There's nothing that will obstruct this other than your own forcefulness. If you're prickly coming into it, you're going to get pricked and you're going to prick it. But if you can take the time right now of when it's just ripening, because there's nothing more you can do to ripen it, you just need to give it time. And if you can take that time, to just really find a more gentle approach to life, you'll know exactly how to pick this, how to get that berry in the way that is where you get the best out of it, where you get the beauty of it. And you see the right timing because you've stepped back and you've waited and you've been patient and observed, its phases of ripening. It's then the right timing, and the approach, and the moment and exactly how to do it. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so last card, a little bit more about the nature of this quest. Fire. So I do feel like this quest is maybe creative in nature for a lot of you, or active, creative, passionate. And so I think that's why this is saying, drop into that feminine principle, because this has the potential to turn into a wildfire and sabotage itself, whatever you're reaching or aspiring for. But if you can drop into that darker, more calm, cool energy, this will drop into sort of like torchlight instead of a wildfire, that will lead you through your gauntlet, through this patience and waiting and ripening period. But you need to cool those masculine fires and drop into some cooler energy where the fire can just be more of a flame rather than an all-out fire, more of a torch than a out of control fire here. Yeah, beautiful. I hope this resonates with you guys. I hope it connects to something you sort of feel like you're in process of, a quest, bringing you kind of the spiritual insight into what's going on here, to help guide you to reaching some, yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like you're reaching for some kind of success, aspiration, but the spiritual quest here is to learn a different approach, to come at this in a little bit more of a feminine way, crossing the finish line of this needs a more feminine approach. Okay, if this resonated, I always appreciate the things, like, share, subscribe, and for sure always grateful to see kind and thoughtful comments. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day wherever and whenever you are. All right, see ya. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading all about what the spiritual quest you are currently on that Spirit wants to talk to you about. So we've got 4 cards here, all from a tarot deck kind of based on the Arthurian Legends. And for you, it's a pretty clear thing that's going on. You have Queen of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, and 8 of Pentacles, all in a row. Pretty major pentacles going on. The King and the Queen of Pentacles in this deck are tied to the exact same story, which gives me a really concrete understanding of what this spiritual quest is about. I think that there's something in your life where you're coming into sort of into your own in something. You may not be coming into like the leader status, but like you're coming into your strength, you're coming into finally getting certain recognition. At the same time, there are some things that I think on your soul level you're wanting to proceed with whatever it is you're kind of coming into your own with a little more depth of morality and some sort of like code of ethics. You may feel, just as an example, you may feel really passionate about environmental causes and you're starting or coming into, a more seen role in like an apparel industry, which that's an industry that wreaks havoc on the environment. This is just one example. And there's sort of this, like, I think your soul is trying to speak up of like, there's a way to do things that don't leave such an impact or that weave in that can weave in new threads of goodness, new ways of doing things that can take the world forward or take what I'm doing forward with just like a high level, a high standard here. And I think that there are going to be some tests coming your way that will show you just where your weak links are, where you're willing to kind of take shortcuts that maybe shouldn't be taken, or take the easy way because by appearances it gets you ahead faster, but it goes against doing things the right way for you. the right way to your standards. So this is all about, this isn't like the world testing you. This is your soul testing your own standards to gauge where your weak links are, where your actions line up with your beliefs. So there are some things coming your way in certain status or recognition or opportunities that are coming into being. And as we go further in here and we get to the Eight of Pentacles, what this is communicating is that nobody is an expert off the bat. Nobody gets everything right off the bat. So even though there are some tests that may come down on you, so, just to go back in case any of you are really curious about the Arthurian legends, the King and Queen of Pentacles have a lot to do with, oh my gosh, I just saw a huge raccoon climb out of the tree in front of my window. Wow, I've seen them around our house in the nighttime, but never during the day. Oh, and it's just right here. It's right in front of my window, jumping onto my fence. Wow, that's crazy. Yes, that definitely, I'm going to add in the raccoon. I'm going to circle back to that because that has meaning for me in relation to what I've said. So anyway, getting back to the Arthurian legend, the King and Queen of Pentacles in this deck represent Morgan Le Fay and the Green Knight, who go to the, I don't know if it's Arthur or a different king at this point, or an earlier or later king. It's probably Arthur, King Arthur. They go to the beheading games and he sets out a challenge. And I think it's Sir Gawain. I'm not an Arthurian legend expert, so I'm sorry if I'm getting some of these a little bit wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's one of the sirs, obviously, but I think it's Sir Gawain takes the challenge, and he has to make his way to the Green Knight through a series of tests. Like he has to, I think, bring like a stag, and he has to stay chaste during the quest, and he has to, I don't know, I don't remember all the things, but there's like all these things he has to uphold in certain moral standards in order to kind of win this challenge. And I can't remember, I'm actually going to pull out the book for this to look up the name. It's so the Green Knight and Morgan Le Fay, they're like a couple in this scenario. They disguise themselves as these people that Sir Gawain goes and stays with at the very end, not realizing that they are part of the challenge, and they set up some somewhat sneaky challenges for him because he doesn't realize he's being watched. So Bertilac, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, Sir Bertilac and Lady Bertilac, she tries to seduce him, and he offers to give him a stag that's already been killed. And both of these things, he's supposed to be chaste, so he's not supposed to fall for the seduction, and he's supposed to, I believe, I might be getting this wrong, but I think he's supposed to have killed his own stag, hunted his own stag, instead of taking one that's already been, killed for him. So there's these challenges where because he doesn't think anyone's watching, it would be easy to get away with in his mind. And so this is all about like holding up a certain set of standards that you've set for yourself or that you've agreed to, one way or the other, whether they're standards you've agreed to or standards you hold for yourself. And I think your soul is going to put you through some challenges to see where your weak links are. And this Eight of Pentacles is coming through to say, don't judge yourself when you falter. You probably will. But even within times where you have a little bit of a fall, there will be scenarios around that where you will also be able to see how far you've come in other ways. So in this particular card, Percival, who is, you know, if you were to put Percival as a figure in the tarot, it'd be like the Fool. He sees some of these, you know, Arthurian knights out and about in his part of the realm that doesn't usually see that. They have like whispers about it, about knights and this and that, but they kind of come through and he sees them and he gets like, you know, it just, that impulse in him is like, I have to be one of them. I have to. So he latches onto them as this, like, you know, initially as just like a assistant. I don't know the, you know, their terms, but like the little errand boy or servant boy, whatever. And he makes his way up into being actually at the round table, Sir Percival. But he, you know, I mean, he goes through a lot of errors on the way. And in this card, this is Percival being honored with a red robe. He killed the Red Knight in a castle or area where they had asked him not to. So it was an error on his part. At the same time, it was a major feat that he did come out the victor against the Red Knight, because he was a very, very feared, accomplished knight. And so even though he made a mistake, it still showed this capability that he gained. So he was still honored, even though there was some kind of wrist slapping at the same time. And so this is saying that, like, don't beat yourself up. You will make mistakes on whatever you're getting yourself into. And you will improve. And even when you make the mistakes, you'll see certain things that you have come to like a new level of acclaim in, of capability in, and just keep at it and don't judge yourself for those mistakes. Just try to stay true to, you know, the standards you either agree to or that you set. And by the end of the journey, this card is the Knight of Spears, and this is of Merlin on his horse, commanding the sun and kind of charging into the scenario where he brings about Arthur kind of conceived and earmarked as being this great king. So he's on his way to sort of make that conception happen. But this is showing that by going through this spiritual quest of really coming into some new mastery and really putting yourself through the paces to build character and to build skill and to really, you know, find your strength and authority in whatever you're putting your heart into, you will come out with this ability to really orchestrate things and really command things and really have some magical ability here. So it's sort of like, be patient, don't beat yourself up for mistakes, but keep at it, and just do your best and keep remembering and recognizing certain standards that are in place that your soul wants you to live up to. Okay, we are going to pick a few oracle cards just to get a little more context about this quest, anything you need to know while on the quest. So we've got Moth from the Nocturna deck. I'm going to read from the book for this. find it. Okay, 6. Okay, distraction, being led astray, and burnout. And that's exactly what the, I can't remember their names, Sir and Lady Batalik, something like that. They did. They tried to distract him. They tried to lead him astray. So that's really crazy how the moth came out. It's just like absolute confirmation that there will be things trying to test you, lead you astray, distract you. Yeah, so moths are nocturnal insects that follow the light of the moon. However, with the abundance of artificial light from human civilization, moths are often led astray. Conversely, in our consumerist society, we are led to believe that things like earthly possessions and money will provide emotional fulfillment. However, like a moth drawn to a lamp, that is not the case. You may need to adjust your course and not let distractions get in the way. Examine whether the things you are pursuing will actually bring fulfillment and positivity into your life. This makes me think that there could be sort of like some side paths you could get lost on, sort of like knowing from the get-go, whatever, if whether this quest has revealed itself to you yet or not, it's like some goal or some opportunity or some call to action presents itself and it's very clear. But then as you get going, you kind of like, oh, well, this side path may actually be more me. And this is sort of saying like, don't get too led astray. I think with the 8 of Pentacles showing up and the stories behind, at least in this deck, the King and Queen, it's probably inevitable that you're going to kind of wander down some of these paths. But as soon as you realize they're a little tricky or they're more of a distraction, that's like, get back to the focus, get back to the thing. Don't wander too long or too far. And immediately when you feel that burnout or something burn you, get back to the main path, return to that initial focus. Okay, let's pick a soul journey card. You can't make this up. Discipline. I accomplished what I set my mind to. Yeah, I think there's something really specific calling to you or being put upon your path. And this is all about that discipline to do this with certain standards and certain mastery and certain excellence and certain sets of moral compassing with it as well. And it's, so this is just saying like, keep focused, don't get too distracted, be disciplined. It's pretty clear these confirmation cards are like just exactly that, confirmation cards. They're not really adding new, they're just like doubling down on confirming what we've already been talking about. Okay, let's do a Woodland Warden. Whoops. We've got the Opossum and Peony, Bashfulness. Okay, and I'm going to read from the deck for this one. Where is this? Hold on. Sorry, guys. Oh, I'm a little too far. Let's see. Here we go. Bashfulness. To play possum is to remain quiet and still when faced with danger. The expression comes from the opossum's unique reaction to fear. It keels over and pretends to be dead. This is an instinctual response and an effective one. Spotting what appears to be a dead opossum, predators will often lose interest. Similarly, the beautiful peony flower is associated with bashfulness. According to Greek mythology, nymphs who wished to hide from mortal eyes would disguise themselves as peonies. You may wish to hide away from the world. While periods of solitude are necessary and healthful, be sure your retreat isn't driven by fear. How do I respond to fear, instinctually or otherwise? Just reading another little thing about it. Oh, I like this. So the reverse note, I think, is actually really speaks a little more to what we've talked about. While you've recently been shaken, kind of put through paces, tested, perhaps you've been through some turmoil and endured a disoriented change, you are now ready to stand on your own 2 feet. So this is saying kind of push through fears, through hiccups or mistakes or challenges you've been through, like push through those fears and trust that you are gaining strength in your ability to stand on your own, stand in your character, stand firm. So to me, this is more about kind of getting over your bashfulness despite mistakes you may make. Don't judge, and that's what I was getting from this 8 of Pentacles. Like, don't judge yourself too much. You will make mistakes here, is the feeling I get. But that's part of your learning process. It's part of the journey. Each mistake will still show you some progress that's also been made. And look to that. Look to the glass half full things. Look to take those moments to recognize how far you have come despite certain mistakes made. And instead of like hiding and becoming bashful about it, trust that this experience or each little hiccup is an experience that has actually made you more aware and shown the strength you have gained, and trust yourself to stand on your feet and to keep moving forward. Okay, one more card from the what's this deck called? Supra deck. Potential. And I love this coming under, right under, hold on, sorry, there's a thing on my screen. Okay, coming right under the Knight of Spears, which has a big thing about the horse. These horses are like in the exact same stance. And this is saying that all of these tests, all of this hard work that is coming for this spiritual quest you're on is coming because there's so much potential for you here. There's so much brightness. There's so much mastery. There's so much, like, this is where your potential lies. And so where your potential lies, you have to be put through your paces. You have to really dig into that, focus on it. Find discipline. Our challenges are what help, and pressures are what help kind of solidify things and give us our character and give us our strength. So that's why this is happening, is because there is so much potential for you on whatever this represents to you. Okay, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. If it resonated, I always appreciate the things. Like, share, subscribe. And definitely always grateful to get some kind and thoughtful comments, even just little emojis. It's just nice to feel that human touch sometimes. All right, I hope you guys have a beautiful day wherever and whenever you are. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading all about some sort of spiritual quest you are on. Some insight into it, or at least when you're about to go on. You may be well into this, or it may be just about to start for you. I think that will intuitively be understood by you once we get into this. So I am using a tarot deck that has some ties to Arthurian Legends. So I'm going to be pulling from those stories a little bit in here. And the cards that came out for you are really, really special and really clear what's going on to me. So this first card, the Ace of Swords, is that time when King Arthur threw Excalibur, his, the sword that he pulled from the stone. There was a point in his legend where he threw it into the lake. He wanted to sort of forsake his position. I can't remember exactly what had happened. I don't know if it was when Lancelot sort of beat him, or if, I don't know. There was something that happened. I can't remember what it was that triggered him wanting to, forsake his sort of destiny, his calling. And he throws his sword into a lake. And this is when the Lady of the Lake, I'm sure you've heard that term, Lady of the Lake, she comes from underneath the lake water and she rises up with his sword to return it to him. Sort of, this is the rejection, because this is a spiritual calling of his. He's sort of spiritually tied to Excalibur, and so this is spirit rejecting his rejection. And so in this card, what this is symbolizing is basically like a breakthrough and some divine intervention. There may be something very spiritually, from the other cards I'm seeing here, something very spiritually centered, where it's sort of like you've had frustrations or disappointment or disillusionment around a path with that, where you have had a moment of like, I am throwing the towel in. This is not my path. This isn't what I'm meant for. So like some of you may be mystics or healers or artists, or, just something in the spiritual realm though. And some kind of, like that moment where you decide to throw the towel in, it's like a breakthrough happens, an aha happens. And I think sometimes we do have to let things go to see if they were meant for us. If they are, they come back to us. And in this case, it is going to come back to you. And there's going to be a breakthrough, an aha, and some divine intervention where clarity strikes, where that lightning strikes, where it's like there's suddenly just like a knowing, a direction, traction with this that is like, okay, this wasn't all for naught. This isn't a mistake. It's very, very sharply clearer now, and I know the direction. I know what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, so something on a spiritual path you've been on. And for some of you, or maybe all of you, it's sort of hard for me to tell that. I'm going to break this into two groups. I think there are two groups here. For some of you, you've already been through your gauntlet around this quest. You've already been kind of granted access to the other world and really done some work on developing intuition, psychic ability, healing ability, whatever it is, and really found your strength in being an initiate, in being that newly anointed sort of person into this spiritual realm. And you've already been to the other world, to the underworld, the other world. You developed relationships with all of the energetic beings, with plants and crystals and elementals, and developed sort of a communicative language in the animate realm. and really coming out of passing the test as an initiate. For others of you, you're about to go on this. You're about to be granted access to the other world and be put through the gauntlet of moving from initiate to your strength in something. So whichever group you feel like you're in, because I do feel kind of two separate quests. Either way, there's some sort of breakthrough, there's some sort of divine intervention that kind of helps you to see that the work you've done here is not for naught, or it helps you to see that you are meant to be an initiate and start this journey. Whatever makes sense to you. If you feel like you're more of an initiate or more of someone that has been initiated but feeling a little disillusioned, like it was all for naught, like it was not a waste of time, but kind of a detour that didn't really take you to any main destination. So whichever realm you're in, divine intervention is coming through to say, no, you are meant to be an initiate, or you are meant to, having moved past the initiate realm into, healer, shaman, mystic, whatever it is, divinely connected and truly living with one foot in the other realm and having developed really amazing spiritual gifts. Something is supposed to come of that, and clarity and divine intervention is coming either way, whichever camp you feel like you're in, to bring clarity, to bring direction, to bring a focus, to bring a purpose here. And the kind of achievement of attaining, the Holy Grail, or attaining your spiritual quest here, is going to be sort of rebirthing into life with a new role. So like coming back, and this applies for everyone, whether you're about to step into this because you've already been through the other world initiate gauntlet, or whether you're about to go through that, the outcome for both camps of what is happening is you are going to be sort of rebirthed into your current life in a new role with sort of a spiritual signature now upon you, almost like but new, sort of like a baby shaman or a baby healer, or a new earth angel status, with a real sensitivity, a real purity, but there is like a maiden aspect. So for all of you to get to here, it means having attained an immense spiritual faculty, having mastered really beautiful understanding, very advanced and intense understanding of sort of the unseen, of the other world. But you are coming into a new role, a new signature, a new energy that is young within that. So even though this is an incredibly advanced position, it's like the maiden form, a new role for you. So even though it's a very, very advanced kind of role and signature you've come into, it's new to you. And so you will be coming into it with a certain naivety, a certain purity, a certain sensitivity, and there's beauty to be had in that newness in a position. It's not yet like where you may have been disillusioned about even going on this path, or having hit a roadblock on it. you now have moved past that. You find that role, you find your place, your clarity, and that disillusionment is gone in sort of this rebirth into this new place, this new status. But there is, within that new role, you have not yet hit those hurdles of developing some disillusionment within this new journey. But it's a beautiful place to sit in, because when there is a lack of that disillusionment, it's a place of possibility. And so sometimes, like, the youngest energy within a cycle or within a role or within something holds the most magnetic energy, because everything is possible, because they're seen with new eyes, without an overlay of patterns and norms that get established. It's like those haven't been quite put intact yet, and so you can bring something new here, and it's a very magnetic quality, and it's very sensitive and pure and filled with possibility. Yeah, so really gorgeous. Yeah, it's interesting that I'm definitely feeling two camps here, so I hope it makes sense for you which one you are in. I would imagine it would make sense to you which one you're in. And, you know, for those of you that have been through the gauntlet, this is just more of a confirmation. I know this reading is supposed to be about the spiritual quest you're currently in, but for some of you that feel like you've already been through the gauntlet here, this is just spirit coming through to give you some confirmation, like that breakthrough, some clarity is about to break some disillusionment. Some divine intervention is on its way. You've been through your paces. Just be patient for a minute. It's coming really, really quickly, I feel, really soon. So I know one camp here, it's sort of interesting because it's sort of like you've been through your quest, but you need this patience to kind of feel the clarity of this role and the purpose of this role sort of aligning. Yeah. Okay, we're going to do some oracle cards to get a little more context. Sort of a complex pile with two camps of how this is going, but I'll do my best to kind of interpret these for both ways. So we've got cactus. Interesting. So I'm going to read from the book for this. I have to find it first. Okay, 41. Armor, being closed off, endurance. And I absolutely feel that whichever camp you're in, it's like, well, I'll read it and then we'll talk about it. The prickly spines of the cactus make it seem uninviting and inaccessible. Despite there is beauty in its ability to endure. While the spikes are unappealing, it provides protection for the plant, which can survive in the harshest environments with little water and nutrients. When the time is right, they bloom the most magnificent flower. Yes, you may feel like you've been in a desert with this, whichever one it is, whether it's like trying to get to the point of being accepted as an initiate or having already gone through the initiate thing, but sort of feeling like it's not taken you to where you thought it would or anywhere meaningful. This is saying that feeling of a harsh environment, little water, no nutrients, despite appearances, despite how you feel and how, you know, that harshness of just, yeah, wanting to throw the towel in. This is a timing thing. When the time is right, this is asking both camps to be a little bit open here, to not close off yet. It's okay to have that armor, because I do think conditions around this have been tough. Like for some of you, maybe this is taking you down a path of like, you know, like career and income or something where it's just like been tough to get your footing, and it's created a bit of a drought in your life. And this is saying like it's built a tough armor in you, but stay open, because when the time is right, something magnificent is really getting ready to blossom for those that have been through the gauntlet, and something really beautiful will blossom for those that are about to go through. And I do think for the ones that don't, feel like you're just about to become initiates, I think this is also sort of like develop a thick skin, because this process is going to be a little bit like going through a drought. It's really going to test you. It's really going to push you to, develop a certain armor, develop a certain endurance. By going through this, which makes sense, because as you go into the other world, it's almost like you stop productivity in the 3D. And so that can feel like a drought in terms of how your 3D life is going. But despite that happening down in the underworld and your spiritual gifts, beautiful blossoms are being cultivated and nourished, and underneath there is actually a lot of water to be found underground, in the underworld, in the other world, and it's giving you exactly what you need to blossom out into the 3D when the time is right, and it's coming. So gorgeous, really interesting. Okay, let's look at a soul journey card. Death. Right under the Grail, Queen of Grails, which is Deandra, on her kind of journey to the other world, literally on like her deathbed. And it says, I am learning that endings are merely beginnings. Yeah, and we see that with the ace. Any ace is the start of a new thing, which means something else has ended. So either something's ended that's putting you in a space to accept a quest as an initiate, to step into the quest of the initiate, or something about going through that initiate and graduating is a death to the old you. You're now needing to shed who you have been, let that aspect of you die, so that you can actually step into this new role. And that might be what this challenge is for those of you that are on the camp of like having already gone through your paces, is like this last detaching from an old aspect of yourself that you're still holding on to. A death there still needs to happen in order for clarity and the breakthrough and the divine intervention to have room to really come through and put you into this new energetic kind of archetype or role, or whatever it is, that however you want to think about it. I think there's still old things you're still grasping onto for that camp that need to go. And for the initiate, the people newly being initiates, it's like, you can look to the people that are in the other camp of like, okay, well, that will come for me too. Of like, I'm still, even though I'm an initiate, I'm still who I have been. That's still a big part of who I am as I go into the other world. And just sort of a precog coming through for you that like, once you come back out of this, there's still a test that's going to have to be pushed through in terms of letting go who you were before the gauntlet, before going into the other world as an initiate. Okay, let's get a Woodland Warden card for you, and I'm going to read from the book for this as well. The Cayman and the Poppy Dreams. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Dreams in the other world. Okay. Dreams. Exceptionally quiet and still, the caiman is an alligator-like reptile that spends much of its time in trance-like state, rousing only to snare its prey. Likewise, the poppy is closely associated with sleep. Since ancient times, the powerful sedative opium has been derived from its seed. Together, the caiman and the poppy tell us about our dreams. A dream of yours is about to come true. Stay still yet alert like the caiman, and at the right moment, seize your opportunity with relish. The questions: what have I dreamt about recently? How can I make my dreams a reality? So there could be like real specific purpose of going into being an initiate, or having gone through your paces already as an initiate, of something about that connecting you to a dream you have. And this is saying, be patient. That breakthrough is coming. Believe in your dreams. Believe in the work you're about to do or that you have done, as really being plugged into your dream realm, dreams you've dreamed that maybe you've even forgotten about, but they already got planted and they're on their way. And this is deeply connecting you to that, manifesting something about dreams you've held. But I think that patience is coming through really strongly, of like, the right moment is about to arrive, whichever camp you're in. We see that with, that was the very first card that kind of been our cornerstone of this reading. That, breakthrough and divine intervention is very near. So stay plugged into your dreams, stay patient, stay optimistic. There may be a tough skin that's developed, and even so, stay positive and optimistic and don't close yourself off too much. Okay, last card we're going to pick from the Supra deck. Release. So, to me, this definitely plugs into that death thing that you really are, by going through this and by really getting to that place where you're manifesting something from the dream realm, from the other world. You're really going to have to release who you were before. But in that release, there's also a liberation for you to ascend, to become, like an earth angel, or have that direct connection to the other world, a liberation of normal laws and challenges of, the very concrete world. It's like you've come into a more ascended place where slightly different laws now rule how you work in this world and how life unfolds for you in this world. You're kind of released from some of the harsher things, but you have to go through that really, really tough, deserty, harsh condition to get there. You have to go through that drought, through the desert, to get to that ascension, to that release, to that place where life is just a little bit more ethereal and gentle and compassionate, and just unfolds in a magical way for you. But you have to, it's not an easy path to get to that status, to get to that role, to get to that. So I do feel the people that have come here have, really done some impressive spiritual work, even if you're just coming into being an initiate. I think that's even rare in itself, to open up to being an initiate of like ascension, of being an agent of spirit. So, wow, really, really cool reading. Yeah, I don't know what else to add there. I think we've said it all. So this is where I'm going to leave you guys. If it resonated, I always appreciate the things like, share, subscribe, and definitely always appreciate and I'm grateful for kind and thoughtful comments. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day wherever and whenever you are. All right, see ya.